Close your eyes for a moment and try to remember. Not the history they forced into your mind within the sterile walls of their classrooms, but the history that lingers in your blood. Can you feel it? The faint, aching memory of a world that was stolen from us. A world of unimaginable beauty, harmony, and limitless power. This was the great old world. This was Tartaria. Are we truly expected to believe that the magnificent, sprawling metropolises of the past cities, adorned with impossible geometries, soaring spires, and colossal domes were constructed by uneducated labourers using horse-drawn carts? Is it merely a coincidence that these breathtaking architectural masterpieces look identical, whether they stand in the heart of Europe, the plains of America, or the deep expanses of Asia? We are the inheritors of an empire of light, a civilization that mastered the very fabric of nature. Our ancestors did not toil in darkness or break their backs to fuel the greedy engines of industry. They lived in profound spiritual sovereignty, harnessing the boundless atmospheric electricity of the ether. Imagine cities glowing with soft, eternal light, where free, wireless energy cascaded from intricate copper antennas and golden domes, vibrating in perfect resonance with the earth. It was a golden age of human prosperity, backed by the true wealth of the world. But this profound freedom was an existential threat to them. The parasitic entities, the hidden elite who operate in the shadows of history, they could not rule over a humanity that was self-sufficient. They could not meter, tax, or control free energy. They could not enslave a people who answered only to the natural cosmos. And so, a decision was made. A decision to execute the greatest heist in human history. To wipe the old world from the face of the earth. To erase the memory of our greatness. And to cage the survivors in a fabricated reality. We must understand the magnitude of what we have lost. Look at the old photographs, the empty, grand streets of the mid-19th century. Mourn for the majestic world they destroyed, the exquisite structures they callously tore down or claimed as their own. The history you have been taught is a carefully constructed lie, a veil pulled over your eyes to blind you to your true inheritance. We are living in the ruins of a stolen realm. And if we do not wake up to this reality right now, the final phase of their plan will be completed. The chains they forged in the darkness are tightening, and the window to reclaim our truth is rapidly closing. The story of our écrasement begins not with politics, but with a deliberate, cataclysmic erasure. How do you delete an entire global civilization from the collective memory of humanity? You do it through fire, flood, and the ruthless manipulation of time itself. They initiated a chronopolitical reset, a systemic purging of our organic past. Have you ever looked at the lower levels of 19th century buildings and wondered why the ground floor windows are buried beneath feet of earth? Are we truly expected to believe that entire streets were accidentally raised, swallowing the majestic architecture of our ancestors? The truth is far darker. The great mud floods were not natural disasters. They were engineered cataclysms, designed to bury the remnants of Tartarian infrastructure and suffocate the survivors. But Earth alone was not enough to erase the grandeur of the old world. They needed fire. Consider the mysterious, catastrophic infernos that simultaneously ravaged the world's greatest cities in the 18th and 19th centuries. The Great Chicago Fire, the burning of the magnificent white cities constructed for the world's fairs. We are told these sprawling utopian cities of staff and plaster were temporary exhibition halls built only to be torn down. Is it merely a coincidence that these structures, which rival the architecture of Rome and Greece, were destroyed the moment the public laid eyes on them? No. These were the conquered capitals of Tartaria, showcased one last time before they reduced our heritage to ash. Behind this total destruction stood the architects of our misery, the Venetian black nobility, the ancient parasitic bloodlines that have manipulated empires for millennia. They are the hidden hand, the secret societies that operate above governments and borders. When the fires died out and the mud settled, they rewrote the timeline. They introduced phantom centuries, altered the calendars, and scrubbed the name Tartaria from the maps. They replaced our true history with a fabricated narrative of linear, materialist evolution. They taught us that our ancestors were primitive, ensuring we would never look for the advanced scalar technology buried right beneath our feet. This was not merely the conquest of land, it was the epistemic colonization of our minds. They stripped away our spiritual sovereignty and reduced us to mere economic units. But the ghosts of the old world still whisper to us. They left their fingerprints on the impossible stone monuments and the towering star forts. The evidence of their crime is hiding in plain sight. They stole our world, and in its place, they built a matrix of dependency. A system entirely reliant on the black, heavy sludge of fossil fuels, where every drop of energy must be extracted, metered, and paid for with our labor. The Great Reset of the 19th century paved the way for the ultimate trap. The destruction of Tartaria was only the first phase of their dark design. To truly enslave us, they had to replace the boundless, unmetered energy of the old world with an economy of artificial scarcity. Imagine a system where the very energy required to live, to build, to travel, is pulled freely from the atmosphere. How can a hidden elite dominate a world where power is abundant and free? They cannot. And so, the majestic atmospheric capacitors, the golden domes and intricate spires that once hummed with the resonant frequencies of the earth, were dismantled, disabled, or falsely relabeled as mere religious or governmental ornaments. Is it merely a coincidence that Nikola Tesla, a man who sought to restore this wireless free energy grid, was financially ruined and erased by the exact same banking syndicates that seized control of the global economy? We were forced into a dark, suffocating age of fossil fuels, a system where heavy, toxic resources are hoarded by the few, while the rest of us bleed our lives away just to keep the lights on. They engineered an absolute dependency on their industrial infrastructure. We, the descendants of sovereigns, were transformed into desperate renters on our own planet. But energy was only one harp of the equation. To cement their control, they needed to confiscate the physical wealth of the old world. Tartaria operated on a system of intrinsic value, a golden age of uncorrupted prosperity. The elites knew that as long as humanity held the gold, humanity held the power. We are engaged in a silent war, a struggle that has been raging invisibly for centuries. They seek to reduce human life to mere data and labor, to extinguish the divine spark within us. We must recognize the urgency of our current reality. The walls of their matrix are closing in. Every day that we remain ignorant of our stolen heritage is another day. They solidify their absolute technocratic dominance. By wiping away the ethereal physics of the past, they imprisoned us in a materialist reality, convincing us that the universe is a dead, purposeless void, and that we are nothing more than biological machines. But deep down, our souls remember the truth. We look at the smog-filled skies and the concrete monstrosities of modern architecture, and we feel a profound, unexplainable grief. We mourn the loss of our profound connection to nature, the harmonic resonance that once guided our ancestors. They took the stars from us and handed us the dirt, and as the 20th century dawned, they prepared for the final, devastating strike. The moment when the surviving wealth of humanity would be siphoned away into the darkest vaults of their empire. The year is 1913. The stage is set for the ultimate betrayal, the final nail in the coffin of human sovereignty. In the dead of night, under assumed names and absolute secrecy, a cabal of the world's most powerful financial titans, the modern proxies of the ancient black nobility, boarded a private train bound for a secluded island off the coast of Georgia, the Jekyll Island Club. Are we truly expected to believe that these men, representing the Rockefeller, Morgan and Rothschild syndicates, gathered in the shadows merely to stabilize the economy? Do not be deceived. This was not an act of preservation, it was an act of conquest. The secret meeting on Jekyll Island was the drafting of the Federal Reserve Act, a coordinated strike to permanently enslave the survivors of the Great Reset. For centuries, they had been systematically confiscating the immense, gold-backed wealth of the fallen Tartarian Empire. But they needed a mechanism to launder this stolen prosperity and replace it with a system of absolute control. The Federal Reserve was the weapon they forged. By creating a privately owned central bank masquerading as a federal institution, they seized total control of the money supply. They stripped away our physical wealth and replaced it with a fiat currency, a fabricated system backed by nothing but our own perpetual debt. Is it merely a coincidence that immediately following the establishment of this cartel, the world was plunged into catastrophic wars and devastating economic depressions? These were not accidents of history, they were calculated harvests. Every financial crash, every engineered panic was designed to siphon the remaining wealth of the middle class directly into their clandestine vaults. We traded the golden prosperity of the old world for pieces of paper that lose their value with every passing day. This is the insidious mechanism of inflation. It is a silent, invisible tax, a slow bleeding of our life force. They are stealing the hours of your life, the sweat of your brow, to fund their technocratic dystopia. We, the people, were transformed into the collateral for their endless debt. The Federal Reserve Act was not the creation of a bank, it was the construction of an invisible, inescapable prison. The bars are not made of iron, but of interest rates, mortgages, and taxes. They ensured that humanity would never again have the resources to challenge their supremacy or unearth the suppressed technologies of our ancestors. The trap was sprung, the chains were locked, and the modern financial matrix was born. We are living in the nightmare they designed in the dark, entirely oblivious to the monumental theft that funded it. The beautiful, harmonious world of our past was liquidated to build the machinery of our present oppression. We have arrived at the precipice. The financial matrix they engineered in 1913 is not merely an economic system. It is a complex occult architecture designed to harvest our energy. You must understand the horrifying depth of this reality. When the United States was quietly bankrupted, handed over to the hidden elite, a new form of collateral was required to back their astronomical debts. That collateral is you. Are we truly expected to believe that the system views us as free, sovereign individuals? Look closely at your birth certificate. Look at the all-caps spelling of your name. It is not an identity, it is a corporate entity, a straw man, a bond traded on the secret ledgers of the Federal Reserve, pledging your lifelong labor to pay for a debt you did not create. We have been commodified. The descendants of the majestic Tartarian Empire, beings of profound spiritual power, have been reduced to mere batteries powering a fabricated reality. We are born into bondage, spending our fleeting lives chasing fiat paper, utterly blind to the invisible chains that bind us. This is the ultimate delusion. A holographic economy where true wealth is hoarded by the secret societies, while we fight over the manufactured crumbs of scarcity. They want you exhausted, they want you distracted. They want you divided against each other, arguing over the meaningless, engineered political illusions they broadcast on their screens, because a divided, exhausted population will never look up. A sleeping humanity will never question the impossible architecture of the past or the suppressed etheric energy that courses through the very air we breathe. But their matrix is beginning to fracture. The memory of the old world cannot be permanently erased. It lives in our DNA. It resonates in our souls. Every time you gaze upon a grand, ancient building and feel a profound sense of awe and sorrow, that is your spirit remembering what they stole from us. The urgency of this moment cannot be overstated. We are standing at the crossroads of human destiny. We must pierce the veil of their historical lies. We must reclaim the hidden knowledge of Tartaria, the truth of our stolen wealth, and our inherent spiritual sovereignty. The age of their shadow empire is reaching its twilight, but only if we have the courage to see the world as it truly is. Wake up from the nightmare of their debt-slave illusion. Remember who you are, the brilliant, sovereign heirs of a forgotten civilization. Remember the glory of the world that was, and prepare your minds and spirits for the great struggle to take it back.